find it difficult to stick to an exercise routine? Maybe you find yourself starting off strong, but after a few weeks, you kind of fall off the wagon. Hi, I'm Stephanie Lovelace, and I'm joined tonight by physical therapists Garnet, Loveday, and Matt Profetta. Whether you're new to exercising, already in a routine, or want to learn ways to build a lifestyle around exercise and health, you've come to the right place. It's no surprise that the top 3 resolutions every year are exercising, eating healthy, and losing weight. But sticking to routine is challenging for many, and data suggests that most individuals fall out of routine after only about 2.5 weeks. Getting the momentum in your favor can be tough, especially with work, caring for a family, and other everyday responsibilities. So, how do you stay consistent, find the time, and keep your motivation? That's what tonight is all about. Please welcome physical therapists Matt Profetta and Garnet Loveday, who are going to walk us through tonight's program.
Hi, I'm Matt Profetta.
And I'm Garnet Loveday.
Knowing how to structure an exercise routine is as important as the exercises themselves. Improving your routine doesn't have to require long hours at the gym or endless cardio. With the right plan, support, and consistency, you can improve your fitness and overall health more safely and efficiently.
If you don't have it already, accompanied with this video is a link to the handout so you can take notes as we lead you through the routine reset. Remember to drop any questions in the comment section for us to answer during the live Q&A session following the program. Let's get started.
As we look to reset our routines, what factors typically play a role in making sure they stick? Believe it or not, perceived health risk is not typically a factor in sticking to an exercise plan. In fact, a 2018 study revealed that reduced mental well-being appeared to present a greater barrier to exercise adherence than reduced physical well-being.
So what does this mean? For starters, people at risk of depression are a lot less likely to adhere to an exercise program, but evidence suggests that behavior change interventions can enhance adherence for those who may be looking for encouragement, affirmation, and feedback. That's why having a plan, social support, and setting achievable goals is so critical as you look to reset your routine.
So where do we go from here? Feel free to take some notes as we walk you through actionable next steps. Let's first talk about exercise. You may be surprised to learn that cardio is actually not the best way to exercise. Even if you're short on time, free weight and body weight exercises are the best way to build strength, fitness, and impact your overall quality of life. If you have stronger muscles, you have stronger bones. If you have stronger muscles, you can also slow your aging process. If you have stronger muscles, you also increase your ability to burn more calories. Keep in mind, sticking to an exercise routine is much easier when you have a plan.
So Matt, keeping in mind that sticking to an exercise routine is much easier when you have a plan, what would you say are a few key points to focus on once you're ready to get started?
I think first things first, focusing on switching out those isolation movements from working on more of like the compound movements. So compound movements are going to fire more muscles at once. You're going to be able to strengthen multiple areas. It saves time as opposed to training one area at a time. They're also more functional, which means they seamlessly carry over into our everyday activities. This is really helpful when we're even just thinking about bending, picking up things off the floor, playing with grandkids, all that good stuff.
Awesome. So can you walk us through some examples of what to do and also what not to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into some of those compound movements that we were talking about before. So these are great because you can use these to replace our traditional isolation exercises. So first one we're going to do is actually a squat. And the squat is a great way to replace that isolation movement of the knee extension machine at the gym. So this is the one that you sat and just kind of kicked those legs straight out in front of you. Now this is good, but like I said, these compound movements are better. So our first example of this, like we said, is the squat. So usually how I like to do the squat is a few things to keep in mind is, I'll show you a couple and then you can take over. So First thing that I like to think about here is when we're standing, we want to stand about shoulder width apart. And then what we also want to do is think about really shifting those weights, shifting the weight backwards. So a lot of times you'll see people squat and it's very knee dominant. They kind of squat like so. This isn't great. You're using a lot of knees. You're not using a lot of hip. So we really want to isolate, or maybe not isolate, but we want to use the hips a little bit more here as opposed to isolating just the knees here. So one thing that I always encourage is the posterior weight shift. So this is kind of sticking the hips backwards, almost like you're going to go sit down into a chair and then coming back up. So that's kind of a basic squat here. So Steph, I would keep those same cues in mind. So think about shoulder width apart. If you really think about pushing those hips backwards like you're going to sit down into a chair, she's doing a good job keeping her chest up as well. A lot of times you see people kind of fold forward, but she's doing a good job keeping chest up, shoulder width apart. Knees are not going too far forward as well.
How many of those would you say to do?
Typically, a good thing to start with, 2 sets of 10 is always a good thing to start with. You can also modify the depth as well. If you're going down too far and it's bothering the knees, you can always shorten up the distance that you're going down. If that's also too challenging for you, you can also start by holding onto a chair.
Okay.
So if you have a chair or a countertop in front of you, this is going to help us take some weight off the legs and also help a little bit of balance and making sure we're getting that weight shifting posteriorly as opposed to kind of gliding forward. So,
okay, awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, next one. The other one we see commonly as a exercise that we do, and so instead of the knee extension, we call it knee flexion machine. So that's usually when we're laying on our belly and then bringing the heel towards the butt, usually targeting the hamstrings. So a great way to isolate or take away that isolation exercise is really to work on more so a deadlift.
Okay.
So people hear the word deadlift and they get kind of concerned or scared because they think lifting heavy weights off the floor. But the best way to start with the deadlift is you don't even really need weight per se. You can hold soup cans, you can do no weight, whatever it may be. It's really more so about, we call it the hip hinging action. So what we would do for patients is typically have them really think about to the side here, and you can almost like mime weight, and you're gonna be lowering weight down to the floor, just like you're lowering weight and then picking it right back up. So Steph's doing a good job. You want to think about knees relatively straight. She's doing a great job of keeping the back flat for this as well. And you can progress this in multiple ways where you can end up adding weight. You can also shorten the depth as well. So Steph doesn't have to go all the way down to the floor. If that's tough for her, that's good there. She doesn't need to go all the way down to the floor. So if you had, say, a box on the floor, if you couldn't get all the way down, you could lower your weights just to that box and then come back up. You can vary a lot of things, whether it's the weight, the distance, and also the rep. I know I said before, like 2 sets of 10. If that's too tough, you can shorten it up to just 1 set of 10, or if that's too easy, you can go up to three sets of 10. So it's really whatever feels good for you there. So another one we commonly see to replace would be the bicep curl. So whether you're using weights, whether it's a dumbbell or a barbell, everyone's always seen a bicep curl, pretty standard.
Sure.
One way to kind of transition that more towards a compound movement would be introducing a little bit of a dynamic step at the same time. So I'll show you, then I'll flip to you. So what we're going to do is you can, again, same like we said before, you can use our weights, soup cans, whatever it may be, but we're going to look at stepping forward and curling at the same time. So it looks like this. We're going to step forward and then curl, and step back, and you can alternate, or you can do all one side and you can do the other. So go ahead. So the beauty about this is we're working not only the bicep like we were normally, but we're also introducing a little bit of targeting the legs as well, but we're also getting some core activation. Also can get the heart rate up a little bit too as you're doing this. So we're checking a lot of boxes at the same time instead of just standing and isolating the bicep itself.
So is there any difference between stepping forward versus stepping back?
Traditionally, when we step forward, you're using a little more of we'll say knee dominant, you're using a little more of the quad. And then if we step backwards and we do that curl as well, you're targeting a little more of the hip as well. So I wouldn't say either or one is better than the other. It's really kind of what you're targeting. I'd say either stepping forward or stepping back is going to be better than your standard just standing and doing your bicep curl.
Okay, so just listening to your body and knowing what's comfortable and what might potentially be pushing too far out of the range.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So another one that we see commonly at the gym is we call it seated chest press. So you're sitting on the machine and you're just kind of pressing forward. Again, good in isolation, but something that could be even better would be more so that compound movement, so a step and press.
Okay.
When we see the machine at the gym, you're kind of, like I said, seated and you're pressing forward. I like to do this a little more dynamic with a step. So what we're going to do is we're actually, instead of using both hands at the same time, we're actually going to do one hand at a time. So it'll be opposite arm, opposite leg. So if I step forward with my left side, my right hand is going to punch forward and a little bit of a cross. So it looks like this. We're going to step forward and then punch. Again, this one I kind of like to do all the same side, and then eventually the other. You can alternate, but I like to do kind of one side and then the other. Okay. So the beauty about this is not only are you targeting some more of those pressing motions, But again, like we said before, we're getting a little more of that dynamic, working multiple muscle groups at the same time. I like this one a lot, and so instead of the bilateral or both at the same time, the unilateral will give us a little bit of rotation to the upper trunk, which is also a much more functional pattern as opposed to fixed in one position and kind of pressing forward. So this is a much more, when we're talking about, you know, compound, what does it give us? It gives us that functional aspect as well.
Yeah. You can definitely tell the feeling of multiple muscle groups being worked, so
Yeah.
definitely makes a difference.
Yep. You may also get that sensation of if you step forward, you might feel a little off balance as well, and that's challenging your balance, challenging that core stability at the same time. So if you need a chair or a countertop nearby, that's okay to start with.
Okay.
Next one we can also do is, again, an isolation movement of the shoulder press at the gym. So whether you're using the machine and you're sitting and you're kind of pressing overhead, we can, again, transition that and morph that into more of that dynamic or compound movement when adding a step to it. So you're kind of picking up a theme here, I'm sure, of, you know, we're adding movement, adding these steps at the same time just to hit all these at the same time. So what that looks like is we're going to be stepping forward and then pressing overhead at the same time. So we're going to be stepping forward and press and back. Same concept. You can alternate. You can do all one side. You can use your small weights. You can use your soup cans. These are all things that we can do at home that are going to target more than just like our simple just standing or sitting and doing our shoulder press or chest press. All these movements are much more compound, going to hit a lot more muscle groups at the same time. Also saves time too. You're kind of working a leg workout at the same time. Like I said, there's cardiovascular benefits as well. So don't be surprised if you feel a little more out of breath when you're doing these. But that's a good thing.
Okay. And for these dynamic exercises, would you say the same for repetition and frequency? You know, in a given week, how many times would you say to be doing any of these?
So like I said before, like from a sets and reps standpoint, you know, I always start 2 sets of 10 is always a good place to start with, and you can scale up to 3, scale down to 1. But from a frequency standpoint, when we're using resistance exercises, whether you're using weights or tubing or whatever it may be, these types of things you don't really want to do every single day. You wouldn't go to the gym and do the same exercises every single day. So at least I usually start like every other day or 3 times a week is a good frequency for, you know, strength or resisted exercises like these.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. So those are some great compound movements to get us started. Couple questions. Would you say that that's a safe approach for any fitness level? And also, are there any modifications that you'd recommend for those who want to ease into making a change or might even be recovering from injury or surgery?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing with all those exercises or the compound movement exercises are you can really scale or modify them for any fitness level, or kind of, you know, if you're recovering from a surgery, or, you know, hey, I haven't really worked out in a really long time and I'm trying to get back to it. We can really scale it or modify it to whoever is starting those exercises and their fitness level at the same time. So,
awesome.
In regards to, you know, those modifications specifically, I think the best thing to do is really just consult, you know, a physical therapist or, you know, someone that is in the know in regards to, you don't want to do things that are over your fitness level and progress too soon, too quickly, and that's just going to be, you know, lead you to further injury or, you know, a setback as well.
Yeah. So definitely just getting ready to take that first step and making sure you have the educational pieces in place to do so safely. So the previous compound movements are great when you're able to carve out time to exercise. But what about when you need a quick routine to get you going in the morning, or a short routine at night after a long day of driving, sitting, or lifting? If you find yourself asking these same questions, occupational therapist Jill Katz is here to help. Hi Jill, welcome. Let's start with the morning. What would you recommend to get moving and start the day off right?
So absolutely. So it's always good to remember that motion is lotion. We want to get the body moving. When we're sleeping overnight, you know, we're, besides tossing and turning or maybe getting up once or twice to you know, use the restroom, we are not moving much at all. Most people will complain of waking up with, you know, some stiffness or being sore. So we really want to get the blood flowing. We want to lubricate the joints, the muscles, the tendons, and really get everything going for the day.
Sure.
Really start out the day right. So it's always important to remember that in that morning stretch routine, we want to take things nice and slow. You know, we don't want to overstretch. We don't want to force anything. As you continue to do some of these stretches over time, your flexibility will improve. Sure. You know, none of these stretches should be painful at all. We're really not aiming for Cirque du Soleil level contortions. We're just looking for better health and improved flexibility.
Sure.
So the first two exercises that we're going to start with, you can do from the comfort of your own bed. So you can do them laying on your back, or you can also do it on the floor if that's more comfortable for you. But Steph's going to go ahead and lay on her back, and we're going to do two different variations. One's going to be with one leg, and one's going to be with both legs. So she's going to go ahead and she's going to bring one leg towards her chest, and she's going to hold for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then she's going to release it back down, and then she's going to do the other side, and we're going to do that for about 30 seconds, kind of just rotating between the two legs. Perfect. So she should feel a nice stretch in her back,
Yeah, for sure.
and her legs a little bit. And then the other variation to do both of those legs together is we're going to have you bring both of your legs towards your chest. Good. And you're just going to pull. You can even hold up here. Perfect. And you're just going to kind of pull into your chest a little bit. And again, we're going to hold that about 5 to 10 seconds. And then you're just going to release it back. Perfect. And then back in again. Good. And again for about 30 seconds for about a minute total. Okay?
Yep.
So then the next exercise we're going to do is we're going to kind of be in a similar starting position here. So she's going to be on her back. We're going to have you lift your legs up just like that. Perfect. And then you can either cross your arms or you can actually spread your arms out to the side, whatever's more comfortable for you. But what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly start to rotate that lower body from that side. Perfect. And we're just going to kind of alternate for about a minute or so. If you need a little rest break in between, feel free to take one. What we really want to be mindful of is keeping those shoulders on the ground. We don't want the shoulders lifting up with the movement. We really want to isolate that upper and lower body. Perfect. Great job.
It's a great stretch.
So the next exercise we're going to do, this is going to be a great stretch for your lower body, your thoracic spine as well. So you can do this, standing on the floor, or you can also do it in the stairwell as well. You can either, lift that foot up onto the first step or the second step, depending on kind of how that stretch you want to get, okay? So what I'm going to have you do is you're going to face the side. We're going to bring one foot forward. Perfect. And you can put your hands on your hips, and you're just going to do a little lunge forward. Good. And we want to just make sure that we're keeping that chest nice and open. We're going to, again, hold that about 10 seconds or so, and then come back. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side as well. And if you are in the stairway, you can hold on to the railings for a little bit of external support as well.
Sure.
But we really want to make sure that we're keeping that chest open and not kind of caving forward.
So if we wanted to take this up a level from the challenge side, we would use a step up of some sort.
Absolutely.
Just get a little bit more of an extension there.
Yeah, that's going to give you a little bit more of a stretch. Awesome. So the next one that we're going to do is going to be a little bit of a thoracic rotation. So we want to, kind of like we were doing laying on the floor, we want to isolate that upper and lower body a little bit. So you're going to stand with your legs about shoulder width apart. Perfect. And then we're going to kind of start to rotate. Exactly, just like that. So see, she's moving her hips a little bit and doing a little twist to that leg. But we want to keep your hips a little bit more forward. Okay. There you go. Perfect. Yep, so a little bit more of that rotation of the upper body. Good. So a little more twists there.
Here.
There you go. Yep. Good. And then to make this a little bit more challenging, to add in some of that upper extremity use as well, we can add a reach. So we want to add exactly. Good.
And if we wanted to modify that, is there something between the full reach and the no use of an arm?
Absolutely. So if that overhead reach is maybe a little bit too much, we can do a reach out to the side. Good. Perfect. You can always make it harder too by holding some kind of weight with
awesome.
it.
Yep. Soup cans always work as well.
Yep, soup cans, laundry detergent, whatever you got.
Whatever you got.
So the last stretch that we're going to do in our morning routine, all you need is a wall for this one. So you can kind of do this anywhere in your house, really. But what we're going to do is we're going to go against the wall, and this is working on your shoulders. We want to get a little bit more of a stretch in your shoulders in the morning, just really get things moving. So I'm going to have Steph face the wall. Perfect. And so she's about, 3 to 4 inches from the wall, facing the wall. And then she's going to put both of her hands on the wall, and she's going to reach up as far as she can. Good. So she's really using that wall for support. It's helping guide that movement of that overhead movement so that maybe she can't do it completely against gravity, but this is going to help her get a little bit more of a stretch. So we really want to be mindful, just like she is, that she's keeping her head up, that she's not tucking it in towards her, towards her chest. Perfect.
And how many reps would you say to do of those?
So I would say, I would hold that end position about 5 to 10 seconds. And then I would do that for about a minute or so. Take a little break in between if you feel like you need it.
Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. So now that we've talked about ways to get moving first thing in the morning, let's transition to the end of the day when we're trying to get settled in for the night.
Absolutely. This can be dependent slightly on, what someone's doing all day. Those that might have been driving or they're sitting at a desk might differ from those that have been standing or moving or on their feet for most of the day.
Sure.
So we'll try to kind of meet in the middle with a 5-minute nighttime routine. That is great to do to prepare for the evening. In the evening, we want to aim for more of a minimal to moderate intensity workout, which can help increase that slow wave sleep cycle, which is going to be that deepest stage of the sleep. The relationship between sleep and exercise is really biodirectional. So the better you sleep, the more awake you'll be, the better workout you'll get, and then the better, you'll sleep that night. So it really is a cycle that kind of continues throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when you exercise, you tend to be more energized throughout the day, and you also tend to sleep better at night. So that's a really good point.
Absolutely. Awesome. So to start that evening routine, we're going to have you lay on the floor. So I'm going to have you lay on your side. Perfect. And, with this arm, you can either support your head, you can reach it out right in front of you. Whatever's more comfortable is totally okay. So see how she has this bottom leg bent, and that front leg is a little bit more straight on top of it. So what we're going to start with this position is she's going to, keeping her hips nice and stable, you're going to bring that upper body back towards me. Good. Just try to relax your head a little bit. There you go. And now you're going to rotate the other direction, reaching forward a little bit. So we're really trying to isolate, again, that upper and lower body. Perfect. And we're going to hold each of those end positions about 1 to 2 seconds. So not too long of a hold. And we're just kind of alternating between back and forth. And we're going to do this for about a minute or so. Okay? Perfect. So then the next one we're going to do, I'm going to have you go ahead and lay on your back. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to have you bring this leg up on top of the other one, just like that. Perfect. And now what you're going to do with that arm is you're going to just give a little bit of pressure down. Good. Do you feel a nice stretch?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely.
So you're going to feel a stretch in that piriformis area, okay? So then to kind of close this, so this is the open side of that stretch. And we're going to hold this position about 5 seconds or so. And then what you're going to do is you're going to actually straighten that bottom leg. Yep, straighten it down. Good. And then you're going to go across like that. Perfect. And you want to kind of pull it down a little bit so that you're feeling a stretch in that same area.
Yes.
Good?
Definitely.
All right. And then you can kind of just rotate between those two. So again, that 5 seconds or so. And we're going to do that for about a minute. So about 30 seconds for each of those 2 stretches. Okay?
Okay. Awesome.
Perfect. So then the next stretch we're going to do is going to be one of our yoga poses. So I'm actually going to have you, we're going to kind of come in this position here. So this is the cat-cow stretch. So we're going to rotate between that arched back like a cat. Oops, that's going to be our cow, but that's okay. Yep, so we're going to come up. So you're going to relax your head down, hold that about 5 seconds, and then you're going to come to that other direction. Perfect. So we're just going to kind of rotate between the two. This is really great to help relieve tension in the neck, the shoulders, the back. It's going to be really good for people that sit all day. So whether that's sitting at a desk all day or driving, this is really going to help relieve tension in some of those areas. Perfect. So we're going to do that for about a minute. Okay?
Sure.
And then the next one we're going to do is going to be another yoga pose. It's going to be child's pose. So you're in the perfect starting position. And what you're going to do is you're just going to reach your arms forward, reaching towards the ground. Perfect. And you're going to hold that position. This is going to be a great stretch for your shoulders. It's actually also going to stretch some of those facial muscles as well. And you're going to hold that about 10 seconds or so, and then come back up. Good. And again, we'll do that for about a minute or so. Okay?
Awesome.
Perfect. So then the last and most important one that we definitely do not want to skip is going to be some diaphragmatic breathing, or what we like to call belly breathing. So a lot of times, when we are breathing, we're not, our normal, typical, everyday breathing is not using the lungs to that maximum capacity. So we really want to help retrain our body to be able to tolerate that kind of breathing.
Sure.
So usually I like to have people start laying down with this one because it definitely takes some practice. It's not going to feel natural at first when you're doing it. So I'm going to have you lay down on your back. Perfect. And then I'm going to have you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. So that hand on your chest should not move the entire time that you're doing this. Only the hand on your belly. I'm actually going to have you bend your knees. Perfect. If it's more comfortable, instead of bending your knees, you can always put a pillow underneath your knees as well, okay? So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be breathing in, and when you're breathing in through your nose, and you want to be expanding your stomach. So we should see your hand moving up as you're breathing in. So you're breathing in through your nose, and we're bringing that, that hand is going to be breathing up. Exactly. And then as we're breathing out, we're going to see her hand go down. And what you might not be able to see is that she's breathing through pursed lips. So she's doing this kissy face position as she's breathing out. So we're breathing in through the nose and her stomach's expanding, and then she's breathing out through those pursed lips as her stomach is going back down. So this is going to be great for relaxation. It's going to help with anxiety. It's also going to be great with improving muscle function. It's going to help to decrease oxygen demand. It's going to help to reduce blood pressure and heart rate, and it's going to help to increase core stability. So there's a lot of benefits to this kind of breathing, so definitely don't skip this step.
All around a good one to work into your routine for overall vitals and just improving your health.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said before, it's not going to feel natural. It's going to take some practice. It's going to take some time of doing it. And I always recommend starting in that, lying down position before moving into doing it seated.
Makes absolute sense. Baby steps, right?
Yes, exactly.
So those are some great exercises to keep in mind when you're looking to kickstart your day or wind down for the evening. Just a couple quick questions, Jill. Are these stretches ideal for any fitness level, and would you recommend talking with a doctor or a therapist before beginning a new routine?
I always recommend talking to your doctor or a therapist prior to starting any new exercise routine. There could be, underlying conditions or things that might adjust how you do things or why you do things. So always consult with someone else. If you do want a more individualized plan, we are here for support if you do need it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jill. So now that we've discussed the importance of having a plan as well as some compound and flexibility exercises to work into your daily routine, Garnet is going to share with us the impact of social support and how it can help your plan stick.
Social support is another key factor and is defined as the perception or experience that one is loved and cared for by others, esteemed and valued as a part of a social network of mutual assistance and obligations. Social support may come from partners, relatives, friends, coworkers, social and community ties, or even a devoted pet. Think friends, groups, spouses, and recreational classes. List 2 to 3 friends that you can count on to help improve your health. Scheduling is important as well. Avoid shocking the system by going from no exercise to 5 days a week. That's not sustainable. Consistency is really key. Think days, times, etc. to establish a solid plan that you can stick to.
Let's talk about goal setting. Goal setting can be a powerful way of helping you plan ahead and more effectively achieve what you want in life. To create your own health and wellness goals, figure out what you want to achieve or improve on, and then focus on the intentional steps you need to take to achieve that goal. If you don't set the right goal from day one, you can limit your success before even getting started. Did you know that if you actually write down your goal, it will increase the likelihood that you achieve that goal by 40%? 5 considerations you should make for setting your goals should be, number 1, they should be specific. Clearly define your goal. Number 2, measurable. Make sure you have a way of tracking your progress. Number 3, they're achievable. Break down small milestones that will lead you to your bigger goal. Number 4, relevant. Set goals that are realistic for your own personal health and your lifestyle. And number 5, timely. Be specific so you can regularly reassess your progress.
So remember, challenge yourself, have fun with it, and remember why you set these goals in the first place.
Thanks so much, Matt and Garnet. What a great framework to jumpstart our way to wellness. Before we go to our Q&A tonight, let's take a minute to do a quick recap. First, exercise is the best way to improve your life. Not only does it provide obvious physical benefits, but it can also improve mental health and help aging adults maintain their independence. In other words, movement is medicine. 2, sticking to an exercise routine is much easier when you have a plan. Tonight, we discuss the importance of prioritizing body and free weight exercises as they provide the most benefit. We also discuss the role of social support from family and friends to improve adherence and make your plans stick. And let's not forget the importance of scheduling your routines. Your plan is more likely to stick with scheduled consistency and commitment. And last, but certainly not least, goal setting. Creating clear, measurable, and achievable goals at the outset can improve your chance for long-term success. Use what you learned here tonight to re-energize your existing plan or to start fresh. Remember, movement is medicine and a great way to improve your overall physical and mental health. We'll be right back for our live Q&A with Matt and Garnet. All right, welcome back. We're here with Matt and Garnet to answer some questions live from our audience. The first question we have is from James. Matt, how do you get past Murphy's Law? It seems like every time I get into a routine and start to lose weight, something happens to force a reset.
Well, I think it's definitely one of those things when we're thinking of Murphy's Law, something can always go wrong. And especially when we're trying to change routines, the idea there is, when you say like you're just getting rolling, I would kind of answer your question with a question, say like, how far into your routine are you? Because we know these things do take time to make positive changes. So, if we're only a couple weeks into our routine, we might need to more so schedule that out a little bit more and kind of think, maybe not 2 weeks, maybe like 2 months or 60 days and set a little more so of a long-term goal to capture a little bit more time, a little more sample size with that new routine. And usually if we can get that under our belts of that, 60-day time frame, you're gonna be much more likely to stick with that routine as opposed to falling off after, a week or so.
Yeah, that makes sense. So thinking about a 60-day time frame allows you to build some momentum, make some progress, and start to see some positive changes, as well as some deficits if you're starting to fall off track. So kind of gauging that and being patient and giving yourself some grace to find a plan that works for you. Great. Garnet, can I still work out with cardio into my routine, or should I just do strength training?
Yeah, good question. So I think cardio is an important part of your routine to push things like cardiovascular health. So we're thinking like heart health and vascular health. But I think another really important component and one that's often overlooked is strength training. So do prioritize strength training. We know that builds things like bone density, muscle mass, which helps burn calories. So it really depends on your goals. But I think every good exercise regimen incorporates both cardio as well as strength training. And if I had to pick one, I'd pick strength training over cardio.
Also helps to rebound the effects of aging and being able to actively age more gracefully too, right?
Indeed, it does. Yeah, I think all of the aging processes respond well to exercise. We know exercise is one of the few things that reduces all-cause mortality as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then kind of in line with that is, what can people do if they're just feeling like they're not hitting their goals or not making the progress they expected and are feeling a little bit discouraged with the routine or plan that they have in place?
I'd consider some of your other buckets of health too, like how's your sleep look, what's your water intake, and what's your diet look like. There's no exercise regimen that works ideally without encompassing diet as well. And I think we don't talk as much about sleep in our society as we should. Sleep is your superpower. That's when you grow. So exercise breaks you down and sleep builds you back up. And diet helps provide all the nutrients to do so. I often liken having a good diet, kind of like sending construction workers to Home Depot before you build something. You want to have all the supplies necessary to build. And if you don't have that, you could work as hard as you like, and you're not going to build as much as you want.
Definitely can't out-exercise a bad diet, right? So everything in moderation and following that, 80-20 rule with exercise and a healthy diet that works for your lifestyle as well. Queenia has a question about spending time in the car. So are there exercises that can have an impact either while driving or between stops during those limited periods of time where, they have the ability to do some stretches?
I'd say first things first, drive safely. No exercising while driving, but if you're at a stoplight or if you get out of the car briefly, you can certainly consider some of these exercises. If you're at a stoplight, very common easy exercise to do while just sitting in the car. Shoulder blade squeezes, that's really more of like a postural retrainer. You can do, that's what Garnet is demonstrating right now. Chin tuck exercise, putting your head up against the headrest behind you and tucking your chin. Again, more of a postural retrainer. I think it might be better just to kind of opt for the exercises outside of the car as opposed to in the car, but posture is a good pillar of health as well, so not to disregard that. So.
Great. And then are there any modifications for the evening exercises that Jill demonstrated for someone who struggles to get up off the floor, maybe struggles with balance or flexibility, and someone also, like if you're considering having knee issues or having already had replacements? Sure. So Steph is referencing those exercises that Jill was talking about. So you have the AM stretches and also the PM stretches. So those stretches, for some people that have a bad knee that hurts to kneel, or they have a tough time getting down to the floor and getting back up, you can modify those and just kind of pivot to doing those laying in bed. Most of those are pretty accessible just lying in bed, and then especially the PM, one of the last exercises on there is just diaphragmatic breathing, which is a great way to relax prior to going to sleep. So consider that as a modification or a way to kind of just do those right before you go to sleep. So. Definitely a great way to help you wind down, alleviate any anxious energy, and have a more restful sleep too. So, and then one of the questions was, can the breathing be done in bed? So as we said, it's highly recommended to do. Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Matt. Cindy had a question on resistance bands. Should I use them, and how do I know which level of resistance to use?
Oh, yeah. So there's multiple levels of resistance bands. I think I should point out up front that most companies don't correlate color company to company. So you might buy a TheraBand brand and you might buy a different brand, and they won't necessarily have the same color. So look at your color guide and it'll give you an idea in terms of how much resistance you're using. But resistance bands have often door anchors in the kits that are sold. So you can actually anchor them within your door without drilling into anything. You don't have to be a do-it-yourselfer. They come with a simple loop and a knob that goes on one side of the door. You close the door, it leaves a loop on the other side that you can loop the resistance band through. And then from there, you can do a number of exercises for your upper body or your lower body. You can also hook it up high, like above the top hinge or below the bottom hinge. So you have a number of anchor points that you can pull from. I think I covered most of that question.
Yeah,
Did I miss any?
So. What about
Okay.
Modifications? They want to work in the band, but also don't want to overdo it or push too far without knowing what to expect.
Sure. So I would say start with the lowest resistance and see how you do with it. Shoot for a rep range that's a little bit higher, so you're not moving a lot of weight or not putting a lot of stress on your joint. But just try it, see how it feels after a day. Often you'll have a little bit of what we call DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, and just pay attention to that. You don't want to do so much that the next day you feel super sore and that discourages you from continuing your exercises. So I'd say start small. You can always build, you just can't take away resistance once you've already done it. So start small and then build based on that. I know it's a very general plan, but hopefully that gives you an idea where to begin.
All about baby steps, right? You can always build, but once you pull a muscle, you're going to be setting yourself back a little bit. I'm going to thank Matt and Garnet so much for their expertise and their insights and helping us to identify a plan that works for your lifestyle, setting those goals, making sure they're measurable and realistic for your body type, your fitness level, and being able to continue moving safely and effectively as we age and look to have that more active lifestyle throughout the year. We hope you guys enjoyed this program and look forward to having you join us for our next class on exercising with back pain. Thanks so much.